Every man has a limit, but when a Sigma male reaches his, he doesn't explode, he doesn't beg, he doesn't make a scene. He does something far more terrifying. He goes quiet. And that silence is the sound of a man rearranging his entire world without asking anyone for permission. Chapter 8. What Sigmas do when they reach their limit. If you've ever felt that moment, that exact second where something inside you just shifts, then this video was made for you. Because what happens after that moment is what separates a Sigma from everyone else. Most people break down. Sigmas break through. Before we begin, if this is your first time here, this channel is built for men who walk their own path. No noise, no validation seeking. Just raw, unfiltered truth about what it means to operate on a different frequency. Subscribe now, because what you're about to hear might be the most honest conversation you'll have today.
Wait, you didn't tell me about this.
Well, I'm telling you now, but honestly, you should have asked. Check out Betty on Terra's online casino.
Today, let's get into it. 1. The breaking point. There's a moment every Sigma male knows too well. It doesn't come with fireworks. It doesn't come with tears. It comes with stillness. One day, you wake up and realize you've been carrying weight that was never yours to hold. People you gave loyalty to never deserved it. Situations you tolerated because you thought patience was strength. They were actually draining you dry. The breaking point for a Sigma isn't like it is for other men. Most men reach their limit and lash out. They argue. They fight. They post about it online looking for sympathy. But the Sigma, he just stops. He stops explaining. He stops investing. He stops pretending everything is fine. And that stop, that silent, invisible decision, is the most powerful move he'll ever make. Think about a rope being pulled from both ends. Everyone sees the tension, but nobody pays attention until it snaps. That snap. That's the breaking point. And here's what nobody tells you. It's not destruction, it's liberation. Because the moment that rope breaks, the Sigma is finally free to rebuild on his own terms. You don't announce the breaking point. You don't write about it. You just know. And from that second forward, everything changes. 2. The silent shutdown. After the breaking point comes the shutdown. And this is where most people get confused. They see the Sigma go quiet and they think he's hurt. They think he's sulking. They think he needs someone to come and check on him. Wrong. Dead wrong. The silent shutdown is not depression, it's recalibration. It's a man pulling every ounce of energy he was giving to the outside world and redirecting it inward. He stops answering calls he doesn't want to answer. He stops attending events that drain him. He stops engaging in conversations that go nowhere. Picture a factory shutting down for maintenance. The lights go off. The machines stop. From the outside, it looks like nothing is happening. But inside, every single system is being inspected, repaired, and upgraded. That's exactly what the Sigma is doing during his silence. He's running a full diagnostic on his life. And here's what makes it terrifying to everyone around him. They can feel the shift, but they can't see it. The Sigma isn't loud about his transformation. He doesn't post motivational quotes. He doesn't tell you he's changing. You just wake up one day and realize he's different. And by the time you notice, it's already too late to be part of the new version. Silence is not emptiness. For the Sigma, silence is the loudest strategy in his arsenal. 3. The strategic disappearance. This is the move that haunts people for years. One day the Sigma is there, present, available, part of the circle. The next day he's gone. No goodbye. No dramatic exit speech. No explanation. Just disappeared. Gone. The strategic disappearance is not running away. Let's be very clear about that. Running away is fear-based. Disappearing strategically is power-based. The Sigma understands something most men never learn. Your presence is a gift, and not everyone deserves it. When a Sigma vanishes, he's making a calculated decision. He's looked at every relationship, every environment, every commitment, and he's asked himself one question: does this serve the man I'm becoming, or only the man I used to be? If the answer is the latter, he removes himself without negotiation. Think about a chess player who suddenly leaves the board. His opponent sits there confused, waiting for the next move, but the Sigma already made his move. He left the game entirely. He's not playing by anyone else's rules anymore, and the most powerful part, he doesn't owe anyone an explanation. People will call him cold. They'll say he changed. They'll blame him for not communicating. But the truth is, he communicated 100 times before, through actions, through boundaries, through patience. Nobody listened. So now he communicates the only way left: through absence. 4. Cutting ties without guilt. This is the chapter that separates the Sigma from every other personality type, because most men know they need to cut certain people off. They know certain friendships are toxic. They know certain relationships are holding them back, but they don't do it. Why? Guilt, obligation, fear of being alone. The Sigma feels none of that. When a Sigma reaches his limit, he develops an almost surgical ability to remove people from his life. Not with anger, not with resentment, just with clarity. He looks at a person and sees the truth. This connection costs more than it gives. And once he sees that truth, there's no going back. The decision is made. The tie is cut permanently. Here's what people don't understand. The Sigma doesn't enjoy this process. He's not heartless. He's not emotionless. In fact, he feels deeply, but he refuses to let emotions override logic. He knows that keeping someone in his life out of guilt is dishonest. Dishonest to himself and dishonest to them.
That's me. And this crowd surf all started with a hockey bet with Proline Plus.
And dishonest to them. Imagine a surgeon in an operating room. He doesn't cry while cutting. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't ask the patient how they feel about the incision. He cuts because it's necessary, because not cutting would be far more dangerous. That's the Sigma when he's removing people from his life. It's not cruelty, it's survival. And once the cut is made, he doesn't look back. No late-night texts, no checking their social media, no wondering if he made the right choice. He made the choice. That's enough. 5. The emotional detox. After the ties are cut and the disappearance is complete, something interesting happens. The Sigma enters a phase that most men avoid at all costs: the emotional detox. This is where he sits alone with everything he's been carrying and finally processes it. Most men distract themselves. They drink, they scroll endlessly, they jump into new relationships. They fill every moment of silence with noise because they're terrified of what the silence will reveal. The Sigma does the opposite. He walks straight into the silence and sits there. The emotional detox is brutal. It's facing every lie you told yourself. It's admitting that you stayed too long in situations you should have left years ago. It's recognizing that some of the pain in your life wasn't caused by others. It was caused by your own tolerance of things that should have never been tolerated. But here's the beauty of it. On the other side of that pain is something extraordinary: clarity. Pure, undiluted clarity, the kind of clarity that lets you see people for exactly who they are, the kind that lets you see yourself for exactly who you've been, and most importantly, the kind that shows you exactly who you need to become. The Sigma doesn't rush this phase. He doesn't set a timeline. He stays in the detox as long as it takes because he knows a man who skips this step will repeat every mistake he just escaped, and a Sigma never makes the same mistake twice. 6. Rebuilding from zero. This is the chapter where the real transformation begins, and it starts with the most terrifying word in any man's vocabulary: zero. Zero friends, zero obligations, zero compromises, zero distractions. Just the Sigma, alone, with nothing but his mind, his discipline, and his vision. Most men fear zero because they see it as loss. The Sigma sees it as the ultimate freedom. When you have nothing, nobody can take anything from you. When you owe nothing to anyone, every decision you make is purely yours. Zero is not the end. Zero is the foundation. From this place, the Sigma starts rebuilding, but this time, everything is intentional. Every habit is chosen carefully. Every person allowed into his circle must earn that position. Every goal is aligned with who he truly is, not who society told him to be, not who his family expected him to be, not who his past relationships tried to make him. Think about a man demolishing an old house. The neighbors think he's crazy. They say the house was fine, it had some cracks, sure, maybe the roof leaked a little, but it was livable. The Sigma doesn't want livable, he wants extraordinary. So he tears it all down, clears the ground, and builds something that actually matches the blueprint in his mind. Rebuilding from zero takes time, it takes patience, it takes a level of faith in yourself that most people will never understand. But for the Sigma, there is no other option, because going back to the old structure was never on the table. 7. The ruthless reprioritization. Once the rebuilding begins, the Sigma does something that looks cold from the outside, but is absolutely necessary. He reprioritizes everything in his life with zero sentimentality. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Nothing is safe, nothing is sacred, nothing gets a free pass just because it's been there for a long time. His time, his energy, his money, his attention, his body, his mind, his circle, his environment, every single resource he possesses gets put on trial. And the judge? One single question. Does this move me forward? Not, does this make me comfortable? Not, does this make others happy? Not, does this keep the peace? Not, does this avoid conflict? Does this move me forward? That's it. That's the only filter. And if the answer is no, it's gone.
It's made just for Ontario and has real human support. And when you cash out, you actually get your money fast.
Wait, you didn't tell me about this.
Well, I'm telling you now, but honestly, you should have asked. Check out Betty.
Is no, it's gone. Immediately, without ceremony, without a farewell speech. The Sigma in this phase becomes incredibly selective about who gets access to him. He might cut his social circle down to 2 or 3 people. Not because he hates everyone else, but because he's finally honest about who actually adds value to his life and who's just occupying space. He looks at every friendship and asks, if I met this person today, knowing what I know now, would I choose to have them in my life? If the answer is no, then why are they still here? Loyalty to the past is not a reason to damage the future. And the Sigma knows this better than anyone. But it doesn't stop with people. The Sigma reprioritizes his career with the same ruthless honesty. He might leave a job that pays well, but slowly kills his soul. He might walk away from a position that gives him status, but steals his freedom. He might abandon a business that makes money, but doesn't align with the man he's becoming. Because the rebooted Sigma doesn't measure success by what the world sees. He measures it by how he feels when he's alone at 3 a.m. If the answer is empty, the paycheck means nothing. His daily routine gets restructured from the ground up. Every hour is accounted for. Every habit is questioned. The Sigma looks at how he spent his time before the breaking point, and he's disgusted. Not because he was lazy, Sigmas are rarely lazy, but because he was investing premium energy into discount situations. He was giving his best hours to things that gave him nothing in return. Here's a practical example. A Sigma realizes he's been spending 4 hours a day on entertainment, shows, games, scrolling through content that adds zero value. That's 28 hours a week. That's 120 hours a month. That's over 1,400 hours a year. 1,400 hours, let that sink in. That's the equivalent of 8 months of full-time work. Gone, vanished into thin air. The old version of him called that relaxation. The new version calls it robbery, self-inflicted robbery. So he cuts it, not reduces it, not manages it, cuts it, ruthlessly. He replaces those hours with things that compound: reading, training, building, learning a new skill, working on a project that has the potential to change his financial future. He doesn't do this because he hates enjoyment. He does this because he finally understands the math. The math of time, the math of discipline, the math of what happens when you invest 1,400 hours a year into yourself instead of into a screen. His health gets the same treatment. The Sigma who reached his limit looks at his body and says, "This is the only vehicle I have. If this breaks down, nothing else matters." So he overhauls his diet. He commits to training not for aesthetics, but for performance. He sleeps properly. He cuts substances that cloud his mind. He treats his body the way a Formula One team treats their car, with precision, with respect, and with the understanding that every detail matters. People around him will say he's obsessed. They'll say he's changed. They'll say he's no fun anymore. They'll say he needs to lighten up and enjoy life. But the Sigma knows something they don't. The men who relax at the wrong time are the same men who sit at 60 years old, wondering where their life went. The men who prioritize comfort over growth are the same men who end up with a lifetime of regret and a collection of stories about what they almost did. And regret is the one thing a Sigma absolutely refuses to carry. He will carry pain. He will carry loneliness. He will carry the weight of being misunderstood. But he will never, not for a single day, carry regret. Because regret means you knew better and didn't act. And a Sigma who has reached his limit will always act. Every single time. The ruthless reprioritization isn't about being heartless. It's about being honest. Brutally, uncomfortably, unapologetically honest about what matters and what doesn't. And once that honesty takes root, there's no going back to the old way of living. The Sigma has seen the truth, and the truth doesn't allow compromise. 8. Becoming unreachable on purpose. This is the phase that drives people absolutely insane, because in a world where everyone is available 24/7, responding to texts in seconds, posting updates every hour, sharing every thought and every meal and every mood online, the Sigma becomes a ghost, a phantom, a man who exists but cannot be found. And he does this completely, deliberately, on purpose. He turns off notifications. He leaves group chats. He stops updating social media. He doesn't answer calls from numbers he doesn't recognize. He doesn't respond to messages that don't require his attention. He becomes the man nobody can reach unless he decides, on his own terms, in his own time, to be reached. And this isn't about playing games. This isn't about manipulation. This isn't about making people chase him for some ego boost. This is about protecting the most valuable asset he will ever own, his peace of mind. Let's talk about why this is so powerful. The Sigma understands something fundamental about human psychology that most men never learn. When you're always available, people take you for granted. It's not even intentional. It's human nature. When something is always there, its value decreases. Think about water. It's the most essential substance on the planet, but nobody appreciates it until it's gone. That's what happens when you're always reachable. You become water, essential but invisible, necessary but unappreciated. But when you become unreachable, everything shifts. Suddenly your presence becomes an event. Your phone call becomes important. Your attention becomes a privilege that people prepare for. Your time becomes the most expensive currency in any room you walk into, not because you demanded it, but because scarcity creates value, always has, always will. The Sigma also understands something about energy that most people completely ignore. Every notification is an interruption. Every message is a demand on your attention. Every social media scroll is a withdrawal from your mental bank account. And most men are walking around emotionally and mentally bankrupt because they've allowed the entire world to make unlimited withdrawals from their energy without ever questioning it. The Sigma puts a stop to that. He installs boundaries so thick that people think he's disappeared, but he hasn't disappeared. He's just redirected. Every ounce of energy that used to flow outward toward other people's agendas now flows inward toward his own.
I used to struggle with tracking my runs, but now with ChatGPT, I can just ask what is
toward his own. Every minute he used to spend replying to meaningless conversations now gets invested into meaningful progress. He's not absent from the world. He's present with himself for the first time in years, and here's where it gets even deeper. When a Sigma becomes unreachable to the world, he becomes fully reachable to himself. Think about that. How many men actually know themselves? How many men can sit in complete silence, no phone, no music, no distraction, and be genuinely comfortable? Almost none. Because most men have never spent enough uninterrupted time with their own thoughts to understand who they really are beneath the noise. The Sigma in this phase does exactly that. He sits with himself. He listens to his own mind without the static of other people's opinions. He discovers what he actually wants, not what Instagram told him to want, not what his friends expect him to want, not what society programmed him to want. His own desires, his own vision, his own definition of success that has nothing to do with anyone else's approval. This is also the phase where the Sigma discovers something uncomfortable but liberating. Most of the people who claimed to care about him only cared about his availability. When he was always there, always answering, always showing up, they called him a good friend, a good partner, a good man. But the moment he becomes unreachable, those same people reveal their true nature. They get angry. They get offended. They accuse him of changing. They say he thinks he's better than everyone. And in that accusation, they expose themselves. Because a person who truly cares about you will respect your boundaries. A person who only cares about what you provide will resent them. The Sigma takes note. He watches who respects the distance and who tries to guilt him out of it. He observes who waits patiently and who throws tantrums. And this information becomes invaluable. Because when the time comes to let people back in, if that time comes at all, he'll know exactly who deserves a seat at his table and who was only there for the free meal. Let's be real about something. Society has conditioned men to believe that being always available is a virtue, that answering every call makes you reliable, that responding to every text makes you a good person, that being reachable at all times means you care. But the Sigma sees through this conditioning. He recognizes it for what it is. A system designed to keep men accessible so that others can extract value from them whenever they please. And he refuses to participate in that system any longer. Being unreachable is not isolation. Isolation is being alone because you have no choice. Being unreachable is being alone because you chose it. There's a universe of difference between those two things. One is a prison, the other is a fortress. And the Sigma is not locked inside. He's guarding the gates. Most men are terrified of being unreachable because they're terrified of being forgotten. They think if they disappear, the world will move on without them. And the Sigma's response to that fear: let it. Let the world move on. Because the people who forget you when you're gone never truly remembered you when you were there, and the ones who matter, the real ones, the rare ones, they'll still be there when you come back, not because you owe them your presence, but because the connection was never based on availability in the first place. It was based on something deeper, something that doesn't need constant contact to survive. The Sigma, who becomes unreachable on purpose, isn't running from the world. He's running toward himself. And that journey, that private, silent, solitary journey, is the most important trip he'll ever take. Because at the end of it, he doesn't just find peace, he finds power. The kind of power that doesn't need to announce itself, the kind that walks into a room and changes the temperature without saying a single word. That is what it means to become unreachable. Not lost, not broken, not hiding, elevated. And elevation always requires distance from the ground. And there it is. 10 things a Sigma male does when he finally reaches his breaking point. Not dramatic, not desperate, deliberate. Every single move is calculated, intentional, and designed to bring him back to his highest version. Remember, reaching your limit is not a sign of weakness. It's a signal. It's your mind, your body, and your soul telling you that the old version of you has expired. And what comes next? That's entirely up to you. The Sigma doesn't fear the collapse. He engineers the comeback. If this chapter hit different, if something here made you stop and think, then you already know this channel is where you belong. Hit subscribe.